Hi, welcome to the Woodridge Public Library's program through Zoom, Vintage Snacks and Sweets. I'm Patty with the library and see many of you at programs, mostly virtual for the last couple of years. We are returning to some in-person programs, and if you are available and would like to venture out, tomorrow night, Thursday evening, we have a gardener who's going to talk about flower arranging with flowers from your own backyard. She's a very good speaker, lots of tips. So that's tomorrow night at the library at 7 p.m. You can check the calendar and sign up or just come by. And then Sunday, we're bringing music back to the library for the first time in a couple of years. We've got singer Rick Pickren, and he's going to do hits of the 60s. So you are welcome to come to some programs at the library. But on this rainy night, I'm very happy to be home hosting for the library, but I'm going to turn it over to Amy Alessio, our presenter. You should have received recipes that she references by email, the same email that you signed up for the program. If you have any difficulty with that, you can let me know through email or in the chat, and I'll make sure they're resent. So Amy, please go right ahead.
Thanks so much, Patty. And I'm so happy to be giving this talk tonight for the Woodridge Public Library. My name is Amy Alessio. If you haven't attended one of my talks before, I was a librarian for 20 years at the Schaumburg Township District Library, and now I teach library science at Dominican University. I also write cozy mysteries and romance under another name. And for 12 years, I had a blog about vintage cookbooks. I have a collection of about 2,000 cookbooks. I've been paring it down in handwritten recipe boxes. Many of them are pamphlet cookbooks, so they're all kind of contained in 3 big bookshelves. And I started giving these talks about maybe 12, 13 years ago on different topics. And I enjoy it, sharing my love of all things weird and wonderful about foods from the past decades. And we're going to go ahead and get started with Vintage Snacks and Sweets. And on there, you see a cover from Better Homes and Gardens, Snacks and Refreshments. And they have a neon green drinks that's called Lime Frost. And here's what's in here. And this is just for fun. I did not include this recipe in your packet because it frankly doesn't sound too good. So it's a 6-ounce can of frozen limeade concentrate, 5 to 6 cups finely crushed ice, green food coloring. Yeah, they dyed it that color on purpose. And you mix it up in a blender. And then they add really good with sparkling borscht. Yeah, I don't know about that. So we're going to talk about snacks from all the different decades and definitely some of your favorites. And while I do make fun of some of the past recipes, it is with loving nostalgia. So like we might remember bell bottoms, but would we want to put them on today? Maybe not, but we might, enjoy seeing a picture of them or remember a good time that we had with those. Well, the same thing with recipes, although a lot of times with these recipes, we can update elements of these favorite food fads and enjoy them today. So here are Super Bowl snacks by the decade, the most popular. So from the 60s and 70s, it was fondue, which is not really surprising. And we know fondue was huge in the 70s. So that was the most popular thing. And really, has it changed that much? You had a hot cheese dip at a party. Let's think back to when we had big gatherings, and like Super Bowl parties and things, hot cheese, hot dips, fondue in a form was probably around. All right, so buffalo wings. My son works at a restaurant, and for a while there, they were only doing, it seemed like, online orders and wings. He makes constant wings during the week. That is his specialty in the kitchen. But in the 70s, that really came into its own. In the 80s, it was 7-layer dip. I bet a lot of us remember that one. I mean, 7-layer dip is good. It's hard when you have to be the person bringing it, right, and making that, but it is good. In the 90s, it was bagel pizzas. I remember doing those and English muffin pizzas when I was younger. Those are a lot of fun. They're still a good snack. And then in the 2000s, it's really sliders. You see variations of sliders everywhere, mini burgers, mini foods. You also see them in the vintage cookbooks. So not just, not just a new trend. It had a basis in a past trend, which a lot of them do. All right, here's a 1947 ad of the Super Bowl game. A lot of things to unpack in this ad, right? It says beer belongs. Enjoy it. Well, I'm not sure. And we definitely wouldn't see that in an ad today. America's beverage of moderation. That one always makes me laugh. In this home loving land of ours, in the America of kindliness, of friendship, of good, honored tolerance. Okay. Definitely not running in an ad today, right? It is kind of funny though, you see. And today we might not see an ad where all the men are sitting around while the woman waits on them either. Definitely from a different time. I really am kind of curious about what those trophies are up there. So they are listening to the game here. And it said, for beer is the kind of beverage Americans like. It belongs to pleasant living, to good fellowship, to sociable moderation. Okay, definitely a good idea to mention, not overdoing it on the Super Bowl time. But none of this ad copy would think of the last beer or alcohol ad you've seen or viewed. And a lot of times we've viewed it on YouTube, right? Definitely not have that. All right, here's a popular snack from the 50s and 60s to get us started. This is salmon mousse. It was served, according to my vintage cookbooks, at ladies' luncheons a lot in the 50s and 60s in a ring form. People would have it on a bed of lettuce. It was also popular in the fish mold. So my mother, my late mother, loved it. Had a memory of making it when her Irish cousins came over, and they probably only came over a couple times during her life. So one Christmas I wanted to make it for her, and I even bought the fish mold, and there is my attempt on the right. I have no idea why it was speckled red. I don't know why it turned out that way. It was lemon jello, and I realized I had nothing for eyes, so we threw cherries on there. My mother and father loved it. It was terrible. It was so bad. There aren't words to describe how bad it is. My brother still refers to the fish thing I served one Christmas. It was like lemon jello. My mother remembered that there was dill in the recipe. So I found a recipe with dill in it, and it did not make up for that lemon salmon flavor, which was not good. On the left, it looks a little bit more palatable, right? That is the way I probably should have served it were I able to make something that cute and elegant. And I'm not, clearly. I'm just happy the fish came out of the mold in one piece. But nobody ate it except my mom and dad. And I have to believe that they were kind of eating memories, if that makes sense. There might be some places you go that are no longer as nice, but you just like going there for the memory of it, the nostalgia. That's how it was with the salmon mousse in my family. Here's a recipe nobody ever believes is actually good. This is grape jelly meatballs. This photo is from Pillsbury Winter Classics 1979. They suggest you make your own meatballs and then serve it in a sauce that's made of a cup of chili sauce, a 10-ounce jar of grape jelly, and that is the sauce. So you mix those things together in a hot pot. Now, I have served this at many occasions, and I just don't tell people what's in it. I just say barbecue sauce. I put in frozen turkey meatballs. This is fantastic. In the 60s, it was probably served with a little cocktail franks at cocktail parties. Grape jelly. I'd love to know the origin of this recipe. Who was sitting around saying, oh my gosh, what's in my fridge? How can I turn this into a dip? I can't even imagine how or maybe they were next to each other in the fridge and somebody said, hey, I wonder if those two would taste good together. It's hard to imagine. All right, here's another ring mold. This is a dip. It was mustard, mayonnaise, and jello. A combination of champions, right? Everybody like the yellow background I used on that one? That's probably what we all feel like eating this one. And adding the vegetables does not make this healthy. So for a while there, Jello tried to pretend that they were not mainly for dessert. There were different decades, and in the 60s, they tried to pretend they were salads and even main courses. And I don't know if I'm talking about any of those in this show, and you'll probably be thankful. But so they would have, and they had Italian salad flavored Jello in a box, and they had tomato Jello. Think about the aspects. They were trying to prove that they were in salad. And here was an example. And that was not one of their good ones. There are some that turned out okay. The carrot Jello, everybody loves that one. But this one was not as successful. Here is from the Cocktail Time Cookbook from 1967. You are to put these all out on your warming tray on your table. And look at how fancy some of these are. So there's sugar and spice cubes, which are right in the middle, I think. And it says 1 can of luncheon meat. Yep, we all know what that is, and that's called Spam. 2 tablespoons of sugar. Preheat your griddle to 300. Trim off the ends of the meat. Okay, maybe not Spam, but that's where my mind went. Cut into 18 1-inch squares. Roll in sugar. All right. Maybe not, but there are some things on this tray that would be good. I love the little toast points that are cut like Christmas trees. I think that's what that is on the right. The pigs in a blankets. I mean, has that ever gone out of style? And the bacon is wrapped around dates, and that is quite good if you haven't done that before. And shrimp is always good, and here they have it flavored. So there are lots of good things here. Oh, I'm sorry, those are chicken livers with bacon, according to my picture. Okay, no, go with the dates. That might be a little bit better and certainly more popular. So this would be a tray at your cocktail party. Remember, I talked about sliders. Well, burgers and fancy burgers are not a new phenomenon. When we first start seeing barbecue and backyard events are in the cookbooks after World War II, when you really start to see a push towards suburbia by the publishers, and they have that photo on the right. This one is actually from 1965, Better Homes and Gardens barbecue book. Dad is very fancy for being outside barbecuing, and they give you tips on how to make your own barbecue out of a wheelbarrow, which is kind of fun. I actually had done a library program of how to make a barbecue out of a flower pot. There's all kinds of fun ways to do it and different ways to steam things and stuff. If you look it up, there's new things now, and there's Pinterest boards developed to it. But I was impressed that the entire family was dressed up this much to be outside barbecuing, and no one has a hair out of place. So below it says our best burgers. And so here are the ingredients for Burger Mountains, which are on the bottom left. We can kind of see the Burger Mountains. And it says 1.5 pounds. If the beef is lean, have 3 ounces of suet ground in with it. Well, happily, we don't have to grind our own meat at home. It says the difference with this burger is the sour cream. So we're going to add a cup of sour cream, Worcester sauce, minced onion, salt, and a cup of crushed cornflakes. I bet you weren't expecting that one. There's a whole genre of cereal foods in the vintage cookbooks. And a lot of times they're quite tasty. I mean, think about it. People crush them and use them for oven fried chicken. So, but they do go to some extremes here, but I bet it's pretty good. It's like adding like bread squares or breadcrumbs to a burger. So in this case, they use the crushed cornflakes. What are some other burgers we have here? We have the, I think it's burgundy beef burger, and they've got a toothpick on it on top. This is not unlike things I've seen at restaurants lately. And think of cute sliders and things you've said. So we might not dress up like this for our barbecue, but we are probably eating some of the same foods, although maybe without the ground suet. All right, space burgers. Every single 60s cookbook has space in it somehow. They all wanted to get in on the interest in it. Just like when Hawaii joined the States, we suddenly see an influx of, quote, Hawaiian recipes that really only had pineapple. So here we have space burger. And no one is going to look at that and say, oh, outer space. No, I'm not even sure how you eat that. But so this is from the Spaceman's Party menu from the Betty Crocker Parties for Children cookbook. It also suggests prune cake to go with this, but no. So you're looking at Sputnik cheeseburgers. I've seen mini cheeseburgers that have like one toothpick with a couple fun things coming out of it. And they also suggest Saturn sodas. It says, since yellow orange rings around Saturn, serve a scoop of orange sherbet in each tall glass of cold orange flavored soft drink. Now that's kind of fun. We've got like orange soda float, and also satellite tomatoes, like satellite. It involves an onion in the middle of tomato and rings around it. They are trying to go with their theme. And then they have planetary frankfurters from Good Housekeeping's Appetizers, 1950s. It says, nothing says class and elegance like attractive appetizers. Okay, how do you pick that basket up, by the way? Probably from the sides. So they're utilizing the fact that they have a basket with looks like mac and cheese in the middle of it, with toothpicks and the shrimp all the way around. It's a little bit different. There's a lot of cocktail recipes where toothpicks are stuck in something. If you think about it, it's a good way to pick something up without touching other people's, but I'm not sure it works in the basket. So they also had a recipe for planetary frankfurters. And this would have been better than those crazy burgers. Here you are, here you go. And it's got a lot of steps. So this is definitely not in my packet. 6 hard-boiled eggs, well chilled. a 1/4 cup relish cheese spread. I'm not familiar with that one. 7 drops of liquid hot pepper seasoning. 1/2 pound of frankfurters. Early in the day, hard cook, refrigerate, and then cut your hard cooked eggs crosswise into 1/4 inch slices. Select the 25 egg slices with rings of white large enough to encircle a frankfurter. I think we can see where this is going. Remove yolk from these, set the rings aside, chop remaining smaller pieces, combine with cheese spread and pepper seasoning. Not what I thought they were going to do with the pepper seasoning. Now cut each frankfurter in half. With the cheese mixture, spread the cut surface on half of them, top with unspread ones. Okay, that is too complicated for me. I'd need pictures. Scrape off the extra filling, wrap the stuffed frankfurters in wax paper, saran of foil, and refrigerate. Cut each stuffed frankfurter into 5 crosswise pieces. When they're chilled, insert each piece through a hard-cooked egg white ring, pushing a pick through the egg white and frankfurter to hold its shape. A lot of work. Pretty much, you're serving mini hot dogs with hard-boiled eggs somehow, and I am not sure that is a palate that most people enjoy. So stuffed frankfurters, which is again is a whole genre in the vintage foods, and then we've got your planetary frankfurters. It doesn't really work. I think you would have been better to use those onion rings or tomato rings to serve with your frankfurters and gotten the same planetary effect, and maybe it wouldn't have taken all day. Hamburger pinwheels from 1943, when everything was about the rationing or saving your meat, stretching your foods as long as possible. So it has personal notes on this one. It had a check mark and an X, so somebody must have liked it, for the hamburger pinwheels. And I included this in the snacks talk because I think it would be great at cocktail parties. So hamburger pinwheels, you can buy biscuit dough or make it. Obviously, they would have made it in those days. So you have a little bit of ground beef, soft breadcrumbs, pepper, milk, minced onion. So they are stretching it. Nobody is adding cornflakes here. So you brown the beef and you end up rolling them in the biscuits. And we've all seen how these kind of spiral sandwiches are made in the past. It's kind of fun. And it's a good way to use a little bit of filling and to make it stretch. But unlike 1963, although this does not use a ton. This was from one of my newspaper clippings in one of my boxes, and you can see it cut off the clipping, but I'm going to tell you what's on it. This is from Better Homes and Gardens Snacks and Refreshments, 1963. Piccolo pizzas. And what you do is the refrigerated biscuit dough, you bake them, you use a glass and you press down the middle, and you put in this filling in it. So you press and it has an indentation, and it's like a big thumbprint cookie is how I think of these, only it's got meat in it. So it's got Italian sausage with oregano, garlic, and then you add that to the middle and you bake the whole thing, and then you add cheese to it. I believe these are in the packet. So easy mini pizzas made with the biscuit dough. I like how they added the little olives too. That's cute. All right, unlike the liver patties, this background totally shows what I think about this. Let's see, this is from my snacks cookbook, the one we talked about on the cover. The caption for this photo is "Baked liver patties can be a party, especially served with Spring's fresh greens." So that is no party I want to attend. This is 1.5 pounds of liver, boiling water, breadcrumbs, bacon fat, tomato puree, 1 1/4 teaspoons salt. This is what I call a defibrillator recipe. It's got onion juice and 8 slices of bacon. I think we'd all agree that a lot of things are tasty with bacon wrapped around them, and maybe they improve the liver patties. I definitely wouldn't serve them at a party. And then there's Red Magic Dip. So this is one of my favorite pamphlet cookbooks because it is so strange. And as with many cookbooks, and this is not limited to vintage times, you find it in modern, you can tell at some points when they have run out of ideas for recipes, right? This is why I like church cookbooks. Everybody contributes something. Nobody has to fill the pages, unlike some of these pamphlet product cookbooks or ones you see in magazines. Somebody's got to fill space. And that is the case here. So this is everything ketchup in it from the Heinz company. And it suggests that you make Red Magic Dip. All right, everybody ready? Not in your packets. 1 package of onion soup mix with 1 pint of dairy sour cream, right? And that sounds good. That's like a Midwest staple. I mean, show me the church cookbook that does not have something with onion soup mix in it, or the condensed cream of mushroom, right? They all have it in there. But this one adds 4 tablespoons of Heinz tomato ketchup. Cover and chill for an hour. And they have a variation called the coral cream dip. 1/3 cup of Heinz ketchup and 2 tablespoons of Heinz India relish to 1 cup of dairy sour cream. And it gets worse. They also stuff celery with ketchup. And there's even a ketchup pineapple upside down cake that you definitely don't want to see the picture of. And so the pamphlet cookbooks are weird. Here's what's funny is every once in a while, one of these goofy recipes, like the grape jelly one, will be fantastic. So let's unpack this one. We've got onion soup mix and sour cream with a little bit of ketchup. Might not be too bad. We know those first combinations are good. Might not look attractive, but I bet it's somewhat tasty. I'm not trying to find out though. Is everything better with bacon? So from the 1950 500 tasty snacks, the caption says, almost anything you like can be rolled in bacon, oven or pan broiled or served on picks. And so they give you suggestions. 8 strips of bacon slathered with 4 tablespoons of peanut butter, rolled and pierced with a toothpick. Okay, I know that sounds weird. And then they broil it. It's quite good. Something about that sweet and salty combination. It works. Bacon spread with grated cheese and a 1/4 teaspoon of chutney or India relish, rolled and broiled. Again, that one probably works. A 1/2 inch cheddar cheese cube rolled in bacon, rolled and broiled, or you definitely could stick it in the oven for like a minute or zap it. Anchovies rolled in bacon, wrapped shrimp in bacon. I don't know about that one. Stuffed halved olives put together with cheese spread, and they mean Velveeta, wrapped in bacon. And my favorite, large cooked prunes stuffed with American cheese, wrapped in bacon. I don't know about the prunes. The dates work. I'm not a fan of prunes per se, but because a lot of these are based on stretchers and sugar substitutes, you will see recipes with beets, prunes, and carrots as sweeteners that you might not otherwise expect. But that doesn't mean I want to eat the prunes now. All right, turkey balls. Oh, I'm sorry, that one's fuzzy. From 1978, Hallmark's Holiday Cookbook. This has turkey balls instead of meatballs, and it's got sauce made with chicken broth, pineapple juice, red wine vinegar, sugar, soy sauce, and cornstarch. I know it sounds weird. It's quite good. I had to try this one. That was so strange. Chicken broth, pineapple juice, sugar, red wine vinegar, soy sauce, and cornstarch. Is it weirder than the grape jelly? I don't know. Same kind of thing. We got sweet and salty flavors. I mean, really, is there anything that soy sauce doesn't improve? And here they have turkey bites, and they're just turkey meatballs. And it says find a big 2-pound turkey, or 2-pound turkey and put it through your grinder to make the meatballs. That's a lot of work. Here they're showing you a board. Okay, now I used to laugh about these boards and how much work they are. How popular are charcuterie boards now, right? They're everywhere. My local park district is having a class on how to do them. They're everywhere. And this is a version of it, only in this case, they put them on like a warming device at the parties and let people serve themselves off of it. Okay. From Glamorous Housewife, they suggest you make a flaming meat tray or offer these at parties. One on the bottom, maybe, right? One on the top. So they took a head of lettuce. They have stuck, it looks like bologna on there. I like the crackers and cheese. I'm not sure who would eat those meat things and dip them in the green sauce. But really, think charcuterie boards again. Some of these things never go away. All right, sweet and sour meatballs. This 1979 Chicago charitable cookbook was left on my desk at the library when I was working at the Schomburg Library. I would have a steady number of donations on my desk of strange cookbooks that came through the library donations. You might wonder what happens to your library donations. If there is a staff member who's really into something you're donating, that's where it goes. And of course I would pay for them and put the money in the fund. But I remember at one point I had 6 copies of the same Elvis cookbook. But I got this one. And obviously that it has a term on it that we would no longer use, but it was a charitable cookbook for a school in Chicago or an organization. And they had sweet and sour meatballs, and their very first version is grape jelly and chili sauce, right? You can't go wrong. Lemon juice, ground beef made with cornflake crumbs. It does help hold the meatballs together. And they also have hamburger with frozen lemonade and tomato soup. Okay. Is that more or less strange than the ketchup recipes? I'm not sure, but it might work. So hamburger with a large can of frozen lemonade and tomato soup. Season the raw hamburger to taste. Obviously, we're not going to be tasting raw hamburger now. Melt the lemonade and combine with soup. Roll the hamburger into small meatballs and add to the lemonade mixture. Cook on low heat for 2 hours. I bet that's not bad. See if any of you have any kind of sauce or dip that's stranger than that. Or probably more delicious. All right, so guests grill their own skewers. Think about how popular fondue was. It was like a community family event. People were involved in making things together. So also with the interest in Hawaii, we see a lot of recipes and suggestions for home luau's. And on the left is a tabletop hibachi. It doesn't look all that safe. That's from 1963. And then there's the version that's now on Amazon on the right. For parties, you might think, well, that might look safe, depending on how old the people are at your party, too. If it's young kids, maybe not, but grill your own hibachis. And now we have the version today. So very popular for guests to make food of their own, or heating devices, or small little grills. I mean, has this gone away? Think of some of the small appliances you can find now. Different versions of this. Okay, one of my all-time favorites for appetizers is shrimpy pizza. I got it from my mother's, had a subscription to the Mothers Against Drunk Driving cookbooks. If you see those in antique malls or used bookstores or wherever you get your items, those are fabulous. Anytime you see one of those, they took food writers from around the country to contribute recipes. So here's the shrimpy pizza. I use like a pie pan on the, or maybe a quiche dish, and I cover it with a thick layer of softened cream cheese, so like a good 1/2 inch. Then I add, and I see it's misspelled, cocktail sauce, baby shrimp or deveined shrimp, mozzarella cheese, olives, green pepper, onions to taste. Looks really pretty. It's fabulous. This one is a little more expensive to put together with the cocktail sauce and the shrimp. You want to serve it on tough crackers. Delicious, but like they have to be thick enough to withstand spreading some of that. You're going to need a good spreader with it to put that on the crackers. This is fantastic. All right. I don't know how this one tastes. I don't want to find out. This is a party potato salad. All right. So many of you may know what the sandwich loaf is. That was very popular in the vintage cookbooks. They take a loaf of bread, cut the opposite way from what we're used to, like horizontally, and they fill the insides with things like ham salad, chicken salad, egg salad, and they frost the whole thing with a thick layer of cream cheese so it looks like a cake. And the cookbooks go nuts with the decorations, and they offer children's versions or ones kids can make themselves. It's very popular. You see meatloaf frosted with with mashed potatoes to look like a cake. It was a whole thing. And here we have deglazed potato salad. So potato salad that's probably originally frozen or is served in some form that is hard enough to slice, and then covered with, it must be mayonnaise because that's what the ad is for. And I love the radish flowers. I mean, those are adorable, let's face it. But the slicing your potato salad and eating it. So the next event you go to, maybe this is what you want to bring. All right, more bread art. On the left, we have a version of the sandwich loaf. This was a runner-up to the Pillsbury Bake Off, and it is called Oriental Shrimp Roll, which is, again, not a term we would want to use again. And I had been so excited, thinking maybe that was some strawberry cream cheese cake of a sort, though I couldn't figure out the olive. So this came in, I think, second place in the Bake Off that year. It uses something called shrimp juice, and that is what makes it pink. Not delicious at all. Strawberry cream cheese would have been better. I don't know if it's delicious or not. I'm not tasting it, but I'm guessing not. But sign of the times. A lot of the winners are trends. If you think about those super popular holiday cookies like peanut blossoms, I know a lot of people who make them. I certainly like to eat them. So peanut butter cookies with a Hershey's Kiss on top. Pretty simple. It was a Pillsbury Bake Off. It was a runner-up. It was not a winner. And one of those years, there was something like date walnut. So usually the first place winner is something super fancy. And then if you go down the finalists, you'll find like super tasty or some of the things everybody likes to make. On the right, we've got a sample of bread art from the 60s. Look at the little triangle sandwiches. See, those are made with strawberry and cream cheese. That is what I wish the thing on the left was made out of. But so cute little crackers and sandwiches. Here's scramble. We're going to see a lot of variations of the Chex Mix, and I'm going to talk about the history of the Chex Mix in a minute. But this one is scramble from 1963. The chapter is called Nibbles You Can't Stop Munching. And I bet that's true. So scramble is made from 2 pounds of mixed salted nuts, 1 package of shredded wheat biscuits, remember the cereal genre, 1 package of crisp donut-shaped oats cereal. I don't know why that matters. Bite-sized crisp rice squares, pretzel twists, 2 cups of salad oil, 2 tablespoons of Worcester sauce. All right, that's probably where I lost all of you. And then they roast it in an oven pan first. Definitely ways to make your own cereal mixes or trail mixes and things. There has to be ways you can do it that don't use 2 cups of salad oil. And there's a note how you can substitute cereals that won't crush. Well, that makes sense if we're going to be mixing and cooking in the oven. And it says it also goes well with fudge. I don't did they want to put the fudge recipe there or in the picture and they couldn't figure out what else to do? Because I don't think garlic salt, seasoned salt, Worcester, and salad oil necessarily goes well with chocolate fudge, but maybe I'm wrong. And here's Chex Mix. This is a photo I found on eBay. Somebody found an original box in someone's home they were cleaning out. So, you know, with the cereal still in it. And nobody ate the cereal. But Chex cereal itself, not this box, has been around since 1888 by Ralston Purina. By 1952, recipes for Chex Party Mix appeared on the boxes. But it was not until 1985 that pre-packaged products were introduced commercially and the trademarks registered. So it first became popular as a holiday treat when, according to the rumor on their website, 1955, wife of a Ralston executive in St. Louis served the snack at a holiday function. It was one of the popular TV mixes of the day, snacks that could be consumed without interrupting your television watching. So we see a lot of these in the 50s. Now we take our screen to the snacks, and then I take them and go sit back down, right? Look at the elegant glass they're serving the Chex Mix in it. Today you can get it in a bag and eat it right out of the bag. I think it loses something in that in that time, in that method. All right, more cereal recipes. This is indoor s'mores. This one is phenomenal. This is in your packet. Indoor s'mores, definitely not healthy. 2/3 of a cup of Karo light corn syrup, 2 tablespoons butter. It's got Nestle milk chocolate morsels, vanilla, 1 box of Golden Grahams, and 3 cups of mini marshmallows. Really, you don't need the recipe. This is like Rice Krispie treats. It's Golden Grahams, marshmallows, vanilla, Nestle milk chocolate chips, butter, and Karo syrup to hold it together. A lot of fun variations on these type of bars. Many of them are delicious, and you can make them with varying degrees. You don't have to use a bunch of corn syrup. There's other ways to do it. And then we have Cheez Whiz, which was one of my late husband's favorites. The Nabisco company invented cheese in a can. The real name of the product is Easy Cheese, and it was manufactured first in Wrightstown, Wisconsin, another Midwest gem. You can squirt the cheese out of the can, and it is real cheese. However, it does not need refrigeration and can be stored for years. This was on some of the original advertising copy. Who wants to eat something that can be stored for years? So it is thick processed cheese. Look at the vintage ad in the middle. They were trying to show that it could be used for family dinners too. So here they're spooning it over potatoes. They even have it in kolaczkis, the thumbprint cookies on the top of that picture. There is melted cheese there. They have it mixed in with potatoes. It was the start of a trend. I mean, think about Velveeta too. So very popular, although Velveeta actually has been around since the Depression times. And so maybe Velveeta was the precursor to this one. And so now they have it in a can. The shot from today is putting it on your crackers. Nobody is spooning it over their dinners anymore. So, and Cheez Whiz'em was one of the original ads too. Oh, it's on that ad. I got a kick out of that. And then there's Velveeta. Velveeta originally invented in 1918. Okay, it's before the Depression. It's over 100 years old. In 1923, the Velveeta Cheese Company was incorporated and sold to Kraft Foods. So originally invented by a man named Emil Frey in 1918, the Moreau Cheese Company from New York. In the 30s, it became the first cheese product to gain the American Medical Association's seal of approval. Yeah, I wonder how that's held up. It was reformulated in 1953 as a cheese spread. Yeah, we know what Velveeta is and what it isn't, right? And what we usually don't see it in is fudge. And so I had to put that recipe there because it made me laugh. That is a modern recipe. I know somebody who made it. One of my library school students made it. She says it's quite good. It might work. I could see it helping with the texture of fudge. And yeah, I'm not trying that one. And the one we're used to is the hunks of Velveeta in the salsa in the microwave for a minute. We have a nice cheesy dip for our chips there. And that is the way they show it. Let me know if any of you try it in the fudge version. It's wild to think that it's that old, though. All right, 1960s. Pringles and Bugles were invented because we're talking about snacks at this show. And so it was first, people would complain about broken or stale chips. And a chemist named Frederick Bauer from 1956 to 1958 and created Pringles saddle shape from fried dough and the can to go with it. But he couldn't figure out how to make them taste good. So it took them a while. And there was even a lawsuit where they could no longer talk about them as a potato product because there was no actual potato in them. The Supreme Court told them they could say they were chips made from dried potatoes in name only. That sounds appetizing. And then there's Bugles. So Bugles were test marketed in 1965. Whenever I do shows live, which I'm actually retiring from doing shows after this month, but at least for a year. But people always put them on their fingers. That seems to be the thing to do with the Bugles. I have none to demonstrate that with. But originally, it was one of three shapes that came out. So there was the Bugle, and then they had the Daisy. They were flower-shaped corn chips. Imagine. And then the Whistles, which actually worked. Imagine. And those two were discontinued. I wonder what it was about the Bugle that people liked, as opposed to the Daisy. All right, Gosh and Golly Relish, 1963, Better Homes and Gardens Barbecues and Picnics. They say make a bunch of different kebabs for your guests. Those look fun. That is definitely a fun idea and something people could replicate now. I love the one with the cocktail franks and the olives. It looks so colorful. There's one with bacon wrapped over various things there. There's all kinds of fun little gems there. There's mushrooms around mini burgers or meatballs. There's shrimp. And they suggest serving, it's bacon wrapped cheese bits. Nice. And they call that one shrimpkin. And then they have Western starters. I don't know which one is the Western starter. And then they suggest serving it with Gosh and Golly Relish, which is tomatoes, onion, green pepper, hot pickled Italian peppers, sugar, mustard seeds, celery seeds, salt, and white vinegar. You can guess which one of those is up there. Chill well. I bet it's tasty. Here's a snowman appetizer. It's a really old cookbook. I want to say this one is from the 30s. It doesn't, some of those were harder to copy, but I couldn't resist. I got such a kick out of the cheese ball snowman with these sandwiches like attached to it. And I'm not sure what is in its mouth, but it looks a little bit scary. From Good Housekeeping. Oh, this maybe is a little bit later. This was Snowman Appetizer Server. It says, at the dime store, buy one large and one small plastic foam ball. With several picks, fasten the two balls together. So not a cheese ball, like I thought. Add a snowman's jaunty paper hat. Prepare garlic stuffed olives, and then it says with putty, anchor it to your serving tray. Okay, we don't need all that. You can use cheese balls, put them together, use picks to attach the decorations. We will see variations of this. All right, from Better Homes and Gardens, Meals with a Foreign Flair, 1963. It says these egg and olive penguins are great on a smorgasbord. So my brother hosts Thanksgiving most years, or Christmas. And I went there one year. My sister-in-law was busy, and this is when the kids were little. And she said, I saw these egg and olive penguins on Martha Stewart I thought they would be cute. And so she said, do you have any idea how to do these? I'm like, yeah, I'll try it. I knew exactly how to do them. I'd seen the recipe. I'd seen the pictures. I simplified it. And she comes back and she's like, how'd you do that so fast? I'm thinking the amount of crazy knowledge I have about past foods in my head occasionally comes in handy. You definitely can simplify these. These are hard-boiled eggs, and that you can fill them with like deviled eggs. They suggest using anchovy paste. No kid is going to want to eat that. So you could put picks. You don't have to make them this fancy. You don't need that sliver in the front or even on the sides. You can do the feet out of carrots. Different fun shapes you can make out of some of these for your appetizers. And then there's the pate pineapple. Would also work with a cheese ball. I had a friend who did retro book discussions and she wanted a vintage recipe. I told her to do this one. This was a lot of work. You definitely could put it on its side with the fronds resting on the table, and then you wouldn't have to decorate quite as much. Definitely a fun way to serve a cheese ball if you have a themed event. Remember, I said everybody was doing Hawaiian in those days. And then on the right are the sandwiches they suggest you make for the party. This is a lot of work. Again, and I notice I say that on so many pages, but a lot of these recipes were, and these are a work of art, though they look delightful. If you break down a couple of these, they might not be as hard as you think they are. Like some of them have peppers decorating them. The ones with the flowers have red pepper decorating. Would you want to make all these different types? No, absolutely not. But you maybe could be able to pull off some of these. Some of those are hard-boiled eggs. Maybe you could do something fun with the crackers. Different ways to do it. Okay, Hawaiian kebabs. From my after 10 cookbook. Who's cooking after 10? Who wants people coming over after 10? No one. So home luau's, it's suggested, but the after 10 p.m. cookbook is the one on the right. The one on the left are drinks from a popular tiki bar from vintage times, and you can see the theme and how fun those are, different things you could make. I would love to be served some of those, maybe not in the pineapple. I love the deep sea diver on the top. But on the right, we've got the Hawaiian kebabs, and they are served with a can of luncheon meat. And here they definitely mean Spam, because we know that's popular in Hawaii. 24 drained canned pineapple chunks, soy sauce, brown sugar, and vinegar. Serve after 10 at your mini luau. How about fast and easy? This is much more my speed. Notice we've got shrimp stuck in another item down there, and that, I believe, is stuck in a pineapple. Yes, Polynesian shrimp dip in pineapple. Definitely a fun way to serve it. Hard to stick things in pineapple shell, I would think, though. Maybe they used a drill. But lots of different fun things on here. So there's frosted pate to look like a cake. And this is from 1967, Betty Crocker Hostess Cookbook. So on the second from the bottom, you see the frosted pate with liverwurst and caviar, cream cheese topping mixed with mayonnaise, salad dressing, clove garlic, and Tabasco. Caviar and sour cream with Melba toast. I think that's on the top. You have trio of cheese balls. I'm not sure we see that on here. Maybe I cropped it. And round cheese crackers with pizza sauce, cheese, and one pepperoni slice. I bet those are tasty. How about filled fruits and vegetables? Here's what 500 tasty snacks. Here's what they suggest is filled beets. Remember I said beets were popular. You'll see them crop up again. Celery trunks, filled dills, and filled prunes. They look awfully elegant. I would not have guessed those fruits from looking at these. Okay, for filled beets, marinate cooked beets overnight in French dressing. Remove the centers and fill with paste made of hard cooked eggs, dry mustard, minced sweet pickles, salt, pepper, and mayonnaise. Not for me. Filled dill pickles with a mixture of snappy cheese spread and butter. I hope that's not Cheese Whiz, but I'm kind of afraid it is. Or fill your pickles with liver, sausage, or deviled ham instead of cheese filling. Wow. Fill cooked prunes with a mixture of cream cheese, pineapple juice, and chopped nut meats. That actually sounds good after some of the other things, I have to say. Here's some snack trees. I laughed when I first saw these, but I've met so many people at my programs who have served this kind of thing. And so then I brought one to Christmas, again at my brother's, and I used red and green fruits in a styrofoam comb I had covered with foil and just put a red bow on it. People loved it. something about it. And then having something tall on a table that's usually all low plates is kind of a fun contrast. But on the left, from Farm Journal's Cooking for Company, is the Bountiful Dessert Tree. It says, glue your cake stands together. Okay, don't do that. Now, I love the Farm Journal cookbooks. If you're a collector of vintage cookbooks, usually they're filled with common sense recipes of things that you have at home. I don't have to glue my dishes together. There are ways to do cone-shaped things, and one is to stick things in the styrofoam, like I did on the right. Or that one is not mine. That is a cookbook. That's where I got the idea from. They went super fancy. They've cut shapes out of some of those things, or they've got cubes, different ways to do it. Here's the appetizer pie. Shrimpy pizza is so much better than this. This is from 500 Tasty Snacks. So they've got a round of rye bread, which you have to imagine is much bigger than what we would use today. So what you do is 7 different flavors of spreads. And one of these has caviar, one has salmon, one has anchovy, one has shrimp. So imagine already the expense. Then you pipe cream cheese in the middle of all of these. People cut it pizza style and enjoy all of those toppings. Again, I think the shrimpy pizza is much better. It's a lot of work for no good reason on that last round. All right, here we have Little Debbie. We're talking about snacks and sweets. 1960, McKee's founder, O.D. McKee, was trying to come up with a catchy name for their new family pack cartons of snack cakes. So he decided to use his 4-year-old granddaughter, Debbie, and her picture without telling her parents. And so that was on the original oatmeal cream pie, which is still their best seller. Now, they have tried variations of the cream pie with limited success. One on the left is peanut butter and jelly oatmeal pies, which you no longer can find. On the right, though, the classic. And there's a picture of Debbie herself. He had her out hawking the product. He didn't just use her picture or her name. And you have to hope that his family got a nice inheritance from it. The Marvelous Muffins. So just like some of the, like Jell-O, Campbell's Soups, and other places were trying to show that they could be used in a variety of ways. And here we have Cooking with Condensed Soups. There's a pamphlet cookbook from the 1950s. And there's Marvelous Muffins that are made with flour, baking powder, sugar, condensed cream of mushroom, egg, shortening, and you're supposed to serve them as like a side for dinner. And if I'm not mistaken, the donuts are made out of something crazy like that too. There was also a recipe for prune muffins and maple syrup muffins. And here with the picture, it says stir in a circular motion with the blender just until flour is moistened and ingredients blended. Now, I usually need pictures for help with things, but I did not need that help. That seemed, again, like they were filling space. Serve with butter, jam, marmalade, honey, or any desired spread. And how about donuts? Donuts, again, has its own genre in the vintage cookbooks. I know my grandmother used to make them with potato flakes, different ways to make them, all different. In the previous one, I think those donuts were made with tomato soup, and you're supposed to serve them with dinner. Different ways to do it, definitely a popular snack. So this is from Better Homes and Gardens Holiday Cookbook, 1959. Warm up after the game with coffee, donuts, and Jiffy. Poke a hole with your finger in refrigerated biscuits, fry them, drain them, coat with confectioner's sugar. And they also had Bismarck quickies. Flatten refrigerated biscuits to a 1/4 inch. Place a teaspoon of jelly on one half, cover with the remaining one, seal the edges, and fry. I wonder if these would work in the air fryer. I don't know. Baked donuts are fabulous. If you haven't made them before, there's all kinds of great recipes for them online. I modify some of these that don't fry in the hot oil. There's baked donut pans, all kinds of fun variations. I couldn't resist that background for zebra bread. This is from 1967. A friend at the library gave this to me, and it had zebra bread in the indoor-outdoor party snacks. Combine 2 cups of Bisquick, a 1/4 cup sesame seed, and a 1/4 teaspoon salt. Stir in a 1/2 cup of cold water with fork to form a dough. Knead 5 times on a lightly floured surface. Why 5? Divide dough in half, roll or pat each half into a triangle 12 by 8 inches, cut lengthwise in half. Everybody following this? Grill your strips. Grill 5 inches from medium coals, 3 to 4 minutes on each side. Cut each strip into 4 pieces. Serve hot with butter. I think these are called French toast sticks, and you can make them with toast. Toast them, cut them, and then you have the sticks. Serve hot with butter. No need to grill or make those other things. All right, you definitely have this recipe. This is one of my go-to ones for parties too. You make brownies in a pie pan. It's suggested for tailgating. One of my favorite series in my collection, the Southern Heritage Southern Living set. You can find them used on eBay. A lot of times they were weeded from library collections, which I find very amusing. Some of the volumes are not as good. There's like a strange fish volume, but many of them are fabulous. There's like a celebrations volume where you get all kinds of background and wonderful articles to read on like Mardi Gras. And then there's Sporting Scene, where they have the football tailgate picnic. Look at those cute little cakes decorated for each team. I've never been to a tailgate this nice. And then they also had fudge pie. So you make it's pretty much brownies in a pie pan. It uses only a handful of ingredients. Super easy to make. A lot of my recipes, you'll be astonished to hear, a lot of mine don't turn out. This one always does. I might have the hiccups. We'll find out. All right, so there are different types of brownies though. And brownies is one of those things where we don't have a definite origin. And as a librarian, and I've researched this, a lot of places claim that they invented it. So there's the Palmer House in 1892, claims they invented the brownie. 1897 Sears Roebuck Catalog is another one. And then the Boston Daily Globe said they published a recipe for Banger brownies, which someone made when they made a chocolate cake batter that they forgot to put like the leavening or the, something to make it rise. And so chocolate brownies did not become widely popular until the 1920s. So there are several different types. From thekitchenproject.com, there's fudgy brownies, which have a minimum of flour and no leavening such as baking powder. You melt the butter rather than creaming it for a fudgy brownie. That makes sense. Cake-like brownies have less butter and more flour with a little bit of baking powder. Chewy brownies have an extra egg and a combination of different types of chocolates. And then blondies, which are really butterscotch bars made with brown sugar, butter, and eggs. And they usually have a cake-like texture. Which one is your favorite? And then there's fondue. Now, I mentioned that fondue was huge in the 70s. It was kind of community food. I often did chocolate fondue for holiday parties with my teen advisory board. I ran the teen advisory board for 18 years at the Schaumburg Library. I'm still good friends with one of my original members who just had her second child. We're not going to do that math. We're not going to figure that out. She became a teen librarian herself. But so I would have fondue every year at the holiday party, and they'd always be like, don't make some weird vintage thing. Well, of course, I always made a weird vintage thing. How else would I test out my recipes to talk about at shows? So I'd have a normal chocolate one for them. And then one year I made the pink squirrel one, which was like, I don't even remember what was in there. Plus, I had to dye it red. I wanted some kind of strawberry thing. It might have had a little mint in it. Yeah, that was not fabulous, but it did look, unfortunately, like Pepto-Bismol. But I do have lots of cookbooks with all kinds of fondue things. And again, they're trying to get creative beyond the usual meat and cheese or heating up chunks of beef. And so this is from the 1970 Gourmet International's Fine Art of Fondue, Chinese Wok, and Shaping Dish Cooking. They said, make your own fried mini fruit pies in the fondue. So it suggests apricot, prune, mincemeat, or cherry. There's a lot wrong with this. It says you can make it with your family. Wrong. That's dangerous with the hot oil. Bake the little pies, dip them in the melted chocolate. Don't use prune or mincemeat filling. We're good to go. But they had a lot of good ideas in here for different variations of the fondue. I would not make anything that turns out bright pink, though. My teens wouldn't like it. You would think teens would be more daring. One of my all-time favorite cookie recipes in my collection. This is from Betty Crocker's Hostess Cookbook, 1967, Petal Tartlets. Okay, you can use store-bought sugar cookies. You press them down into mini muffin pans, like you press it down in there, bake them, add jelly, add flavoring. It's like a different type of kolaczki, super easy to do. Look at how cute those are. Now that one, they cut it. They don't just press them down into the mini muffin pans. They cut them, but you get the idea until it shapes that. And then you have an easy sugar cookie with some jelly filling in it. Those are delightful. It says, this is an easy afternoon tea at home. Yeah, all right. That's pretty fancy for afternoon tea at home or any kind of snacks at home. But those cookies are amazing. And from the same publishers who brought us the After 10 cookbook, there's also Entertaining for 6 or 8. There's also Entertaining for 10 or 12. Also, I do not have that cookbook. I don't need the 6 or 8 one. 1956. And they have interesting menus for ladies' luncheon, including that chicken a la king on the left, which you're seeing, which is like the chicken salad over, it looks like waffles. Again, that's popular again, but different variations of it. And they have something in here called Melt Away Chocolate Cookies, and which sadly they didn't have pictures for. I put it in the packet. Cake flour, confectioner's sugar, cocoa, and salt. And you mix it with creamed butter and vanilla. Those are fabulous. Again, always turns out for me. They also had was a menu for the 4th of July, which I decided to throw in here that none of you are going to want to eat. So it's like a star mold with cold cuts of beef around it, which is kind of fun, right? People make their own sandwiches and then they maybe help themselves to some of the mold. Definitely stick with red Jell-O if you're doing this for the 4th of July. What they use is pickle juice. And I think it had mayonnaise and various things in there. Nothing we'd want to eat. Okay, other snacks, mini cheesecakes, very big in the 60s after Cherry Jubilee kind of went out of favor. Then we saw these mini cheesecakes. This is great for the post-COVID era. People can get their own helping without touching anything else. You could put papers in your cupcake pan, and you could use Jell-O has a mini cheesecake mix. Other places do too. You can crush vanilla wafers. You can just put one vanilla wafer with a mini cupcake pan. This is pretty easy to do. I've done this with crushed Oreos at the bottom. I've done mint with candy canes on top for the holidays. These are really big. And if you like Joanne Fluke's Hannah Swenson mysteries, I love the cozy mysteries with food. They have one that's all about cherry cheesecakes. And she makes them for events, but it looks awfully pretty. Okay, best of vintage recipes. So this is canned meat molded with a dip spread on top. How would you rather serve something like this? One, I don't know that we'd use canned meat, although I know a lot of people like Spam. Again, they're trying to make it look like a cake. So think about your vintage recipes. And every once in a while, though, one of these will turn out to be delicious. And then there's modern recipes. You think our recipes are less crazy now? Unlikely. Here is, look at the sandwiches making the Super Bowl stadium and all the different snacks in there. Okay, that does make me hungry looking at that, I'll be honest. But even the little players are in there. So that would be amazing at a party. And I know people who've tried this one. It'd be a lot of work. So is that any more or less strange than that inverted dip thing we just saw? I don't know. But that is my last slide. So I am going to stop sharing so I can see your questions. I appreciate you all listening to my discussion on vintage snacks and sweets. We've got Amy, we're getting some mic muffling and pop. Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. I didn't see that one before. I don't know what that's from. It might be from my necklace. I didn't even think about that. All right, so
it self-corrected a moment or so after I put that in. No worries.
Good. You could have interrupted me too. Remember, I said 20 years of teen programs. I don't know what to do with a program that runs smoothly. It says
it was just a moment.
All right, good. I'm glad it didn't last. If you're from Philadelphia, you know many folks believe a cheesecake isn't a cheesecake without Cheez Whiz. No. I love cheesesteak, especially made with chicken, which I know is not the original, but healthier. Definitely not make that with Cheez Whiz. I don't do Cheez Whiz. Anybody else made any of these recipes, or do you have a favorite snack or mini sweet that I didn't mention? Have you made that Super Bowl thing or a sandwich loaf and you'd like to admit it? I don't know. Patty, have you made any of those?
I have to say, there was some nostalgic moments. Our family Christmas event often involves various kinds of shrimp trees.
Yep.
So that is where my aunt would use some sort of styrofoam base with some sort of covering, and then the shrimp are attached. And we have a little controversy in our house. Should you be using non-edible elements in these displays, or should you try to make everything edible? I like some of your suggestions as far as going for simplicity.
Yes, for sure. And that's like the opposite of what they did in the 50s and 60s. And in the cookbooks, real people were not necessarily doing all that craziness. If you look at the community cookbooks, you'll see what people were really cooking and doing. But it's definitely a sign of the times. It's fun. You had the super decades of hardship with the Depression, the World War II, and then they tried to say that everyone was doing excess in the 50s and 60s, and I don't think that's true. But definitely fun to simplify some of those published recipes. I like the shrimp tower. I bet people enjoy it.
It was, well, certainly my aunt was a gourmet chef. All the food was delicious. It was just kicking it up a notch with the decoration. You have a note from Deborah Walsh there.
Oh, I became captivated with James Lilic's The Gallery of Regrettable Food. Absolutely. And you made some of these. Yes, it's, if you haven't seen that, The Gallery of Regrettable Food. It's so much fun to see people publish things. They're like, who would have eaten this? This is crazy. I always say in 10 years, my boys are going to publish something like that about things that I've cooked. I can't believe you made some. I'm so impressed. About anybody else, a favorite dish? I hope some of you make that brownie pie. That was really fun and easy too. But I don't know about the frozen potato salad. Any of you want to try that one that's frosted with mayonnaise? I can't. How would you even serve that? But some of these for sure, I've done variations on. You can tell that grape deli dip is it's a classic in this. Every time we have family over, everybody likes that one. And there's a reason some of these are still around, or that some of them were originally published and maybe the cookbooks got carried away and tried to get fancy. But the core of these are usually something that's pretty tasty. Maybe not the pickle juice, but some of the other ones. No one's going to try that for the 4th of July.
You have a inquiry. What do you think of folks who make cakes that look like shoes?
Well, there's that Netflix series, or Is It Cake, right? There's so many fun things now. Those are adorable. I mean, who doesn't like cake in any form, right? It's a trend. It's a hobby. It's getting people baking. Oh, I should mention that my 14-year-old does a cooking series for the Schaumburg Library, and how that on YouTube, and how that came about was they called me during the pandemic, because you can never really get away, Patty. Be aware, even if you leave or whatever, they're still calling you back in. And they said, we really need a teen cooking show. So Owen took it and ran. And so he makes, and he loves those kind of things, making stuff in different shapes. He does like 10-minute videos. He just did one on potato chip cookies last week, which he and I fought about. I'm like, this is a vintage recipe. It's phenomenal. You need to do these. And he's like, oh, no, that's weird. And then he made them, of course, and he and my older son loved them. I don't push too much vintage weirdness on him for that, but he likes making things in different shapes. He made a Rice Krispie Thor's hammer. He's done different Star Wars shaped things. He's all over that. He has not done but some of these other things. But if the cake is good, if they don't get too carried away with topping and decorations, right, the cake still has to be good. But it's fun to watch those competitions. That's
Amy,
a great question.
Kind of pulling from your collection and your thoughts about these vintage cookbooks, my aunt wanted me to track down an old Bisquick book because she remembered some particular recipe that she wanted. And I really have been stumped. I mean, I search at antique malls and used book sales and this and that, but is there any database? Is there anywhere where I can take the name of the recipe that she's thinking of and try to find the book that way? Or what are your thoughts?
I think it's the University of Michigan has a special collection from vintage cookbooks. People donate things up there and then they add them to their collection as they have time. I would try there. Send it to me. I might have it in one of the I got to find my Bisquick. Some of my things have been weeded, so I'm not sure that's in that category, but I will take a look and see if I have it too. But University of I go on there all the time.
University of Michigan.
I think that's the one that
Okay.
I know I'm on it a
Interesting.
lot, but I can't remember, of course, exactly where it is. Some of them have huge pamphlet cookbook collections. The Culinary Institute downtown. I've been down there helping them sort donations. They called me and they're like, "We don't know what to do with this weird donation." I'm like, why are you calling me? You know, but I've been down there. They might be able to help you track it down too.
Okay. Uh, so not just the names that we're used to, part of what I like to keep and that family have shared is that cookbook made by a class or the cookbook put together by the church or as a fundraiser.
Those are the best.
Aren't they fun?
Yes, and the handwritten boxes, but the community cookbooks or the ones that are from companies, you know, that's people putting their best recipes in there. And that's
Yeah.
what people were really eating.
Well, Amy, I think that this has been lovely and nostalgic. And I do think that a couple of the recipes you included in the packet that are the sweets have met with a thumbs up from my family that they are willing to try them. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you all for coming
Oh,
tonight, for listening to this.
yeah. You know what? We had someone put a question in the Q&A, a little different spot. My mother used to make the sandwich layers cake for company. It was
Yeah.
difficult to slice the bread horizontally and even layers. She also frosted it with whipped cream cheese. This was from Carol Gordon.
Wow. I bet that was a work of art, though. And the sandwich loaf, the best thing about it is that they were served at happy occasions, right? That was not a funeral food. So a lot of people have good memories of the sandwich loaf. Would we want to eat it today? Though I don't know. But what a fun memory that you have with that. I'm so glad you shared that. I love it when people are telling me stories of the sandwich loaf out in the wild. I like to hear about it.
Well, Amy, you do have a lot of programming ideas and offerings. And so I look forward that maybe we will pair with you in the future, maybe virtually, maybe in person, who knows?
Be great.
So
Thank you
thank
so
you for
much.
doing the program.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming. Bye bye.